Okay, that's very good. So with questions-wise, feel free to ask questions, and then we'll actually answer them either as we're progressing or at the end. We actually have on the presentation today, there's Professor Rolf Muller, who's actually going to be doing the keynote. And then there is, and you can see Dr. Muller. And then you can see Rana and Ehab as well. They're actually on the panel list because they're going to be presenting one of the case studies, one of the winning case studies. And the Ritu is actually our editor, and she's going to be sort of doing some manual things and actually putting up comments, for example. So there's actually also Nancy as well. So Nancy is the awards manager for this, putting this together. Unfortunately, she's having some difficulties in Dubai with the internet connection, so she may or may not be joining us for all of this session. So I will fill in if she's not able to come in. So let me. You can see the screen, I believe. Is that correct? Everybody can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the first year we've actually done distinction awards, even though the AIPMO has been, we founded back in 2015. And it's really, the reason being is that we wanted to get to a state of sort of stability in the sense of the materials, the way we do the exams, all the things that we're actually trying out in the exams, in the sense of not just doing the theory of the questions, but also the practical side, the case studies. And so this is the first year we're doing it, and then we're going to continue every year in actually doing awards. Some awards will be based on the exams, and then we actually have a new system that will be announcing of awards based on something that provides a solid and reliable foundation. So today is really discussing about the distinction awards for the foundation course, the practitioner, and the expert course. So the agenda is I'll do a welcome and introductions. Rolf actually will introduce himself in his own section, which is actually number 7. A bit about AIPMO, just a few slides, how we do the exam approach, and what's the differences really between the sort of the question, which just look questions, which actually look at purely the sort of the theory, the knowledge versus the application of that. And then we'll look at the best case study awards. There's 2 teams that are actually here. One team will actually do the presentation, and the other team we will reference, and then you'll see the comments from the second team. Then there's a case study presentation that Rana and Ehab will be doing. Then we'll cover the foundation awards. The people that actually won the award, the first prize, I'll actually ask them, we'll unmute them, so then they can say some comments. In fact, they've given comments to us. So for the people, just as a pre-warned, have a look what you sent to us. And if you could actually just keep that to like 1 or 2 minutes, that would be great. And then Rolf is going to do a keynote talking about the importance of learning from the best. And this actually means a lot to me personally, because in my career I had a few mentors and they were really good, and Rolf is excellent. He was my PhD supervisor. I actually learned when I was doing my PhD that if you want to be really good, you need to learn from the best. And I consider Rolf one of the best. So I talk from practical experience. Rolf will talk it from the perspective of why it's important for all of us to make sure we're careful in what we're actually learning and what base it's on, etc. He's actually taken all the comments. We've collected all the comments from the people in the top 3, and then it's all been sent to Rolf. So Rolf will actually weave his story around the feedback of the individuals that have won the awards for this year. Then we'll look at the practitioner awards. So I'll ask the number 1 person to actually do a few comments, and the people that were second and third will paste the comments up. I'll just give one slide about the certification, the expert certification, why it's unique, and then we'll do the awards, and then finally at the end it's just questions, answers, and close. So we estimate it's going to be an hour, maybe up to like an hour and a half. It really just depends on discussions and also the case study presentation as well. So welcome to this. It's our first one, our annual awards. We will be extending the awards next year, and there'll be more about that goes outside the 3 categories of awards of today. So AIPMO is a Swiss organization. In fact, we're just sort of based over here, and we've had our headquarters in Switzerland since we started in 2015. Nancy, who may be coming on, it depends on internet connection. I actually met Nancy in NEOM. So, in fact, we were both working in the standards department, which is a type of PMO. She was sitting opposite me, and I was very impressed in actually how she managed complex projects. We sort of stayed in contact, and then she's now been working with us for the past couple of months. So she's actually based in Dublin and also based in Dubai as well. So she actually has a number of conferences she's running. Unfortunately, she's got some challenges with some aspects of internet, and so hopefully we see her a bit later. So for myself, I was a professor of Swiss Business School, then moved to Alma Mater, primarily because the students and the research we need, you need to have a PhD deeper into research, so then we can actually use that research within the frameworks and what we actually teach, so actually develop our knowledge. And so it's really an evolution for that. I've been working in projects and programs actually since the age of 7 with my father's workshop as an engineer, understanding about the importance of quality. In those days, we didn't have internet. We had to get things right first time, otherwise we would cause all sorts of issues. And I've kept that ethos all the way through. I enjoyed being challenged. I enjoy working across different industries and also questioning standards or questioning the norm. And I think this is very important. If we want to push our understanding, if we don't question and challenge, we will never actually evolve. We stay as we are. So with Rolf, Rolf and I, we write books together. So the last one is actually the book Corporate Governance, Portfolio Program and Project Principles. Is also all the books he has input to, and we'll be publishing the standard, which Arthur's Rolf is a co-author. It's about 500 pages. It's taken about 7 years of research and putting together all the frameworks and concepts. And it is actually a revolutionary book, not an evolutionary, but more of a revolutionary in the way how you see things. So that should be coming out over the next couple of months. And then I've also written and architected other books. When I have time, I review on the different academic journals. However, I've been very bad because the last sort of 2 years I've been so busy with AIPMO, the requests for reviews I've had to turn down, including I think one for you, Rolf, as well. So recognize that one of these things. So as we sort of move further forward, I hope to do more of the academic research and reviews. So regarding the annual awards, why is it actually important? So I actually wrote a blog about the importance of awards based on virtue, not just on pleasure or self-interest. What we want to try to do is actually enhance project or PMO management. That's the domain of PMO, as project portfolio management standards globally to increase it. And so you then get industry recognition. You're able to look at benchmarking and looking at excellence in that, the professional development for individuals, as well as looking at motivating people. If the award is worth something, then people are motivated to achieve it. Not just something that is given out superficially or without any sort of background to it. You're also promoting practices. So whether you call it best practices or leading practices, the point is there isn't such a thing as the one way of doing it, but you actually want to have very good practices. And then, of course, the community and networking. It's always nice when you have people that understand the topic, like, for example, that Henny Portman, who's very well known. In fact, I've only really got to know him in the last sort of 12 months, is that we have so much to discuss and so many ideas that likewise with Rolf and the other people on the advisory boards, is that this makes a sort of coming together, and it's a way of showing that the work that we do to help you makes a difference in the future when you do the same as well, when you teach others and looking at actually promoting that. So AIPMO, I mentioned that we're based here in Switzerland. We have a vision, mission, and strategy, which hasn't changed since 2015. So our ambition or our vision is to put the building blocks for PMO management to become a recognized international profession. So this term PMO management was nobody actually defined it. They just talked about PMOs. You can't actually write a standard or documents on an entity like a project. It's got to be on project management or program management, in our case PMO management. So we actually defined the term in 2017, and then we've been writing accordingly for that. So this is a long-term aim. It's something that won't take 2 or 3 years. It's probably 10 or 15 years, as within other professions. So why do we exist? is to really to advance the theory and implementation of high-performing collaborative PMOs. So not PMOs that work by themselves. This is what Monique would call them. She said, like, they're bagels. They're great with the customers, but they have a hole in the middle. They don't work with others. So we're actually looking at ways in which we can help PMOs work as teams, which is obvious, but how to go and do it so that they can actually then create sustainable, measurable impact. And the how part is the strategy and actually how we're doing it down here. So what makes us different to others? And I use the word unique because unique means really one. So we invented the term or created the term PMO management. The work we actually do is that we don't take something on people's knowledge, which is like a very much a local thing. What you know exists, what you don't know doesn't exist. We actually look at a worldview, and we have a whole method, and I'll show you how we do that. We contribute to research. We've got 7 PhD students or DBA students now, and we've got other research students now looking at doing their PhD at alma mater. The certifications that we offer. So we structured this, and it's all about structuring things properly. Then have to change things later. We have 3 categories that I'll actually cover. Everything's been researched and tested. We don't push a standard or a document out. So every book we've produced has been tested or won a contract on a mega project or a very complex project, and we know that it actually works. Like you would expect the same thing if you're driving a car that has been tested, or an airplane, for example. Not they just send it out and say that's the new standard. We do real case studies. This is very unusual, and I actually think is unique because most of the organizations, especially in the PMO side, all they do is give you 50 questions or 100 questions. Is that certification worth anything? We actually test the theory and the practice. It's a problem that somebody brings on the course. We use the frameworks and methods, and you'll actually see the results from Rana and Hiab when they actually present it. And they're in very senior positions as well. So they will give you their feedback to this approach. It's not easy and it takes time, but it gives a really good indication of the value that you actually can create, and also that's reflected in the scores that we have. We update our materials, that it's not just kept the same. So P3O, for example, was written in 2008. In 2011, they just did the portfolio chapter, but essentially it's the same. We started in 2015 with the first version. The first version is nothing to what we actually have today in 2014. In other words, we're on the 8th version of the expert materials, and we're always getting new content actually coming in. So now you can take it back from 2015 to 2008 of P3O, then you realize is that why are people bothering to certify on something that's old? Because knowledge gets out of date. You always want to make sure that you have the edge. That's why you take these things, why you come on courses. But not only are we doing these, we also, we've been writing blogs now for the last 2 to 3 months, and we actually include research snippets. So we integrate, we make it easier for understand, and we make it typically, I think, more interesting than the blogs that come out from other organizations. We have a brand new way of actually reviewing books. So this has actually been launched yet. We have a team of 12 people. They're all international people all around the world. And we've developed a 10-point review system. So instead of looking at trying to find a good book out of the 156 that exist with PMO today, we actually review the top books that we believe give our 12-point review. You can then see it for free and then decide on what book you actually read. And it's not just a single review from Amazon, it's a 10-point review, and the people actually doing it understand all the concepts and all the writing styles and the doctrines beneath that. And the other one down here is the maturity model. So it's taken us 4 years of work to do it, research from Dr. Peter Cole. Also, we've been testing this in the course for the last couple of years, and now we're actually putting this together. We actually presented it now to 1 or 2 companies, and they really were very impressed with what this thing actually does. And it's designed for PMOs, the only one specifically designed and empirically tested. So these are some examples of what makes us unique. So moving on, I mentioned about the research approach. So here we have the advisory board. Professor Rolf Muller is actually the chair of the advisory board. He will send me papers, or I ask questions like, do you know about this? Do you know about that? We get other research papers, and then we see where it actually impacts the life cycle. We then put it into the course, we test it. And in fact, it's more than 2 to 3 years. This is an old slide. It actually typically takes about 3 to 4 years or even more than that. And then we write it into the books. And so these 3 are published. This is written, Rolf has reviewed it, I've reviewed it, as well as the PhD people, and it's just finishing it off. And then we have a series of other books. The unique thing that we do is that this is architected like a building. all the books linked to each other, all the terminologies linked to each other. And I know that we're the only ones in the world to go and do that. It's difficult. It takes us time. And that's why there are people that like to sort of take ideas from us. And so, for example, this book was copied, an early version of it, and is actually published by another organization. These ones here, I've seen one of our books goes up onto the Russian website. Some of Rolf's books are up there. So when you've got something valuable, I guess it's a compliment that people go and take it. So comparisons of certifications, this hasn't changed since we initially launched back in 2015. So the certifications and the awards are based on these three here. We have 7 students that are actually doing their DBA. It's a Swiss Business School. So we actually have 2 that won awards. They're currently here today or present today. This will be actually launched in the next year or so with Alamata. It's actually been defined. And then we have other certifications. But this is the focus for today. So the exam approach. So when you're looking at exams, it's not the theory that's important. It's actually the theory applied and the practice. So it's not what you learn, it's the impact you make. And the limitations of actually just doing exam questions, you see that they don't have necessarily the amount of depth. There's various other ones you can actually read down here. This is the problem that you find when people pass. In fact, I'm aware of the years that people, for example, pass the PMP, their secretarial background. It's quite easy for them to pass it. It's not a difficult thing to do if you have a structured approach. The thing is, once we introduced the case studies last year, what we found is that the people that were often very confident were unable to actually work or didn't do a great job working in the case studies. And therefore, we realize it's not just the theory, it's the practice and the application. And that's why we've developed and evolved this practical side to it. So using the Bloom's taxonomy of learning objectives, if you look at the different steps up here, you want to go way past and really up to the point where you can actually create your own work. And this is what we actually try to do, or what we do within the case studies, and you'll see that yourself. So learning certificates, you'll remember, you understand, and you maybe apply a little bit in the sense of the exercises you go and do. Then you've got to take this generic exercises and try to then apply it to your own working environment. Certification courses with case studies are more rigorous because you follow a story, for example. So we've written 4 case studies. In fact, it's more than that. You'll see actually we are asking for individuals if they would like to help to change some of the exercises, and then we'll publish it on Amazon. And the idea of these 60-page case studies is really show the application and a complex situation more than just sort of simple one-off questions. On our ones, we actually take a real problem. And this is the challenge when we're teaching, is that the people need to be really highly qualified consultants like myself, who I see a problem and I can go through with consultants of my level, take a problem that I'm not aware of, find a way to solve it, and then have other people working as, in the case study as a role play, they act as consultants for the client, and then come out a solution at the end. And every one we've done, we've come out with a solution. And as I say, you'll see ones that presented today. This really shows how you can produce new original work, because the person acting as the client with the problem takes the presentation back and then presents it and then looks at implementing it. So we actually have real actionable items on that. So that's quite a difference. So this is how it works within our certifications. So you have the pre-reading, which is the knowledge, you have the skills, you start the class, you go through the course materials, but at the same time, we then actually work out the case study, and we have a whole methodology how to go and do that. And you're going backwards and forwards between the materials to the end. You take the exam. If it's the P, it's 1.5 hours. And then you also have the case study presentation. So this may be a month, between 2 weeks to a month after the class. They do the revision, they complete in their own time within the team, the case study. And that's hard work for people, because they say, well, I've got my work as well. But when they finish it and you listen to the feedback, then you see why it's valuable doing this. The other thing that's unique as well is that when we do the case study presentations, anybody can come to that presentation. So everybody here, we can invite you for the presentation. You can come in, you can listen, and we give you a scoring system of 7 questions, and you can actually mark the presentation on clarity, message, etc., content. So that's part of like a 10-point system, of which that's one of the points. So we tie the knowledge, the theory, in with the skills. So I've done lots of talking now, so I'd like to hand over, if it's okay, to the award winners. actually, sorry, I should say I'll announce the award winners, and then I'll hand over to Rana and also to Ahab. So congratulations, both of you. Rana and Ahab, I met, I think it was in the Dubai one of this year. It was a very interesting team dynamics of the whole class. And people that were here, and then we had challenges with team members, etc. But they put an amazing presentation together, and I want to congratulate. Here's your certificates of distinction. We will actually be sending that after the course as well for both of you for that. So this is the team one. Both teams, they actually had equal scores or very similar scores, so we're not differentiating it. So with team two, so this is the presentation. So we'll actually be seeing this presentation today, not the second one because we don't have the time. So we have Kamea, who's actually a PMO director in the UK. So it was interesting in the analysis work that we didn't realize she was responsible for a global organization for the PMO. It only came out in a question that we asked during it. So the team, we have Lokesh. So Lokesh actually, I think, is in Canada. He actually did a retake, so not retake, but a renewal of the P certification, because a lot of you, I know, are coming up to that point. So the actual P, what we started 4 years ago, is very different to what it is today, just as an FYI. So he was present, and then Khalid as well is part of the team, and then Reem, who's doing her doctorate. So we've got a number of doctorate students doing PMO management, strategy, leadership, and PMO management. So congratulations to everybody as well. Ritu, is it okay? I think we may have comments from both of the teams. I don't know if you can sort of post some of the comments about the class or the
Robert,
feedback.
Unfortunately, the settings don't allow me to chat with everyone. And I tried changing it right now, but because the webinar is on, I don't think I can.
Okay. Not a problem, but everybody made comments and they were then brought together, and Rolf will give a summary of those. So now it's over to Rana and Ahab. If I could sort of hand over to you. I think you can actually take the screen and then drive it from your side. So you've run about 10 minutes, something like that, or even 15 minutes if you need.
Okay, thanks, Robert. I think Rana will start with the introduction, and in the meantime, I'll share my screen.
Fantastic.
Great, thank you.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having us today. Ihab and I are really honored, actually, to receive this award. Most importantly, actually for me and Ihab, yeah, it was definitely a unique experience, especially since we've done certification programs before. But this was different in the sense where we had to immediately apply our knowledge on spot. We applied it to a real life case. This was a real life case for an organization that I work for. Starting off, actually, I'd like to start off with a quote from someone from our organization when I first joined as a PMO director. And the first thing I got hit by someone from a senior executive in my organization was that PMOs will fail within the 3 years when they begin. So within 3 years, as per a Gartner research, my PMO would fail. So that was the first welcoming quote that I was welcomed with. And this is where, I started thinking to myself, okay, how do we define success or failure of a PMO? And this is what had me go back and, start looking for somewhere where I can actually benchmark according to a standard, according to a framework, somewhere where ultimately I can say, well, this is based on scientific fact. Yes, Gartner does a lot of work on a lot of metrics and a lot of surveying. But again, I wanted to base my PMO, especially a newly established PMO within a software service provider, on some research and on science. So this is what led me to actually, take this course. And I think Ihab as well had a similar experience to attempt this course. And as with everything, as with any learning experience, you want to be able to apply it. And actually, we did not know that we would immediately apply our knowledge within the course. And we would actually use a real life example from our experiences and from our companies, actually. So this is where, you know, our presentation started to come to life, and we started basing it on the standards and the frameworks that Dr. Robert and the AIPMO have developed. The standard and the framework are actually came out actually in 2022. And although the standard and frameworks and the actual research has been going on for quite some time, yet it hasn't been adopted. And this is where the fact that we're doing these certifications and we're able to adopt them within our PMOs and within future PMOs, this is where it becomes critical, where, you know, we actually test the maturity and the feasibility of these standards. And this is where, once we started working on the case, we realized that the framework and standard are based on good practice that we could apply to any industry, actually. And this is where it helped us define certain weaknesses within my PMO, and we were able to actually put down recommendations on our approach when we were actually instilling our PMO setup, and we wanted obviously to define success factors. I'm going to hand over to Ihab now so that we can briefly fill you in on the details of our case. Go ahead, Ihab.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Rana. So again, I think Rana summarized the experience and why we approached AIPMO and why we took this course. And again, the good thing about this is we divided ourselves between the client, who's Rana, and she was the actual client. She had a real problem, and I was acting as the consultant. But again, the beauty about this is we agreed explicitly and implicitly that we will both work together so that we both learn, and we tried to actually solve the pain points and the problems that she was having in her organization. And I'll just go quickly through the presentation. So basically, okay, let's make sure it's actually okay. So basically, the outline was straightforward and really simple. We started out with the understanding the background of the client, what's the vision and the mission of the organization and the PMO, and then we moved, like any consulting engagement, to the assessing the current state. So what's actually happening with the PMO, what are the pain points, what are the friction areas, and so on and so forth. And then the next step was to identify where the hotspots in the organization are that are causing friction with the PMO entity, and what could possibly be the root causes. And then the last, or the before last step, was actually coming up with some recommendations on how to move forward and how to resolve most of those pain points. And the last step was actually coming up with immediate next steps that we can actually start implementing as soon as possible to create an impact. So that was the simple outline. And again, I'm not going to stop at each and every slide, but again, with the introduction, as I said, we identified the mission, vision, and strategy of the organization that Rana was working with. And then the next step, also identifying the PMO mission, what's the PMO mission and PMO vision. And also bear in mind that this PMO was really new and fresh, so it had just recently been established. And that's why we were considering this case study as actually establishing the PMO from the start. And now with the current state assessment, the first part, it was comprised of three main parts. The first one is, as I said, identify the pain points with the PMO, and also what are what we call the organization systemic challenges. So those are challenges across the organization, and that might have an impact on the PMO. And it's worth mentioning that at this stage, we were trying to identify which of the, I would say, 7 guiding principles of AIPMO that might have a low, medium, and high impact on those pain points, and that could help us actually resolve those pain points. So at that stage, we started thinking about those principles and how could they actually contribute to the resolution of those pain points. The next step was to understand how the service catalog looks like. So basically what services are being offered and what services are planned to offer, and so on and so forth. The last step was to understand how the organization chart looks like and where the PMO sits within that organization. And then, and only then, we were able to say what's the current maturity of the PMO. Okay. Again, quickly, starting with the pain points, we identified three main pain points for the PMO, and also three, I would say, organization systemic challenges. And quickly, by looking at those, we could see that there is a lack of sponsorship and lack of transparency, and not many people were understanding the actual value that the PMO was delivering to the organization. And those are aligned with, again, 3 or 4 main principles that were forming the base of our actions. The next step was actually, again, look at the service catalog. And by quickly looking at it, we could see that the PMO was not really delivering many services. It was basically, I think, 3 services, and not many were planned to be delivered. And as you can see, most of the services, most of the useful services were not being planned or being asked for by the client of the PMO. And this also, again, confirmed our initial understanding that there is lack of sponsorship, and the value of the PMO is not really perceived across the organization. And again, we thought that, or actually, we were really confident that we are now at the right path towards resolution. The last step, again, was to understand how the org chart looks like. And also, one of the concepts that we learned was called the PMO domains. So basically 3 main domains, what we call the domain of control, domain of influence, and domain of concern. Domain of control is basically where the PMO services are mandated in the organization. And the domain of influence is where those services could actually help. And also the last one is the domain of concern. What are the areas that are really concerning to us? And in that case, we can see that the whole organization was, of concern to the success of the PMO. By that, having run this initial assessment, or having conducted this initial assessment, we were pretty sure that the maturity level could never exceed level 1. And some of the characteristics were that the success rate of the PMO is really low, and there's a threat here. The value perception is low. We don't have metrics that we can measure that can help us measure the success of the PMO. And overall, the risk of failure was really high, and the overall value of the PMO was really low. So that was the initial current state assessment that we run. And then we went into identifying the hotspots. What are the areas that are really hot in the organization and causing friction with the PMO? We identified 3 main areas and identified the root causes for each of those 3 areas. And we listed them and we talked about them. We collaborated together to understand how we can resolve them. And now the last step was actually coming up with initial recommendations. And most of them, I think we came up with 5 main recommendations, and most of them revolved around, again, establishing or trying to get buy-in from sponsors that could support the implementation and the success of the PMO, enhance organizational alignment and commitment, improve the organizational maturity, and also with regard to transparency, we need to establish some monitoring and improvement measures in place. And also the last step was to start implementing frameworks and methodologies based on the AIPMO standards. So these were the 5 main recommendations that we came up with. And last but not least, we believe that after implementing those 5 recommendations, the PMO maturity could easily be moved to level 2, which is characterized by a higher success rate. We're not saying it's a high success rate, but it's definitely higher than level 1. The value perception is going to be good. We have measured metrics in place, and the risk of failure is lower than level 1, and the PMO value is now being measured. And then finally, again, to have an immediate impact, we came up with 3 immediate next steps. The first one was basically for the PMO director, Rana, to start socializing across the organization and trying to share the value of the PMO, how the PMO could contribute to the success of the projects being run. The second one was actually to pilot for quick wins. So she had to choose 2 to 3 projects that have a high value, but not really that complex, so that they can be run under the umbrella of the PMO. And that could help us, lead by example and show that the PMO is actually helping projects become more successful. And the last one was to, again, put some monitoring and performance measurement and reporting measures in place so that people can see the quantifiable value that the PMO was bringing to the organization. That was briefly the presentation that we came up with. It took us 5 days and sleepless nights and a lot of collaboration between me and Rana. And again, I think we're very proud of it. And as Dr. Robert said, we had also to present it. So we had to take the exam and then also present it to a broader audience, not just our classmates, but actually to senior people who came to attend the presentation. It was a very useful experience, and the mixture between learning in the morning, reading in the afternoon, and also applying, throughout the night, that was really a game changer for us.
And I'd like to add just one more thing that, after the experience, actually, one thing that was a recommendation that I added was actually creating awareness on the standards and the principles. So I think, yes, again, we go back to how do we define success and failure, and then how do we search actually for truth, and how do we develop trust? And I think when there's scientifically and research-backed standards and methodologies and a framework set in place, even if you feel that there are certain risks in place, and you're being set up for failure, when you do have a source of truth and a methodology that's based on research, actually you can take that and use that to develop your trust relationships and start creating awareness. And especially since these are published material that are academically and research backed, this is where it's easy to create awareness on these methodologies, on these principles, and on these standards. And at the same time, having an independent party, so bringing in the AIPMO consultants would also in parallel have helped actually my case. Given the circumstances that the PMO was newly developed and mandated by senior management. So this is just in brief. It was additionally something that after the course I was thinking about. Creating awareness is critical actually to implement any change within an organization with poor organizational maturity.
Great, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Are there any questions from people that will ask now about the case study? Feel free if you want to ask a question. The other thing is with the others attending, if we've got time towards the end, then feel free if you want to sort of say comments. So I know Reem, you're here, and also Lokesh, you're here as well, Wesley and the other guys. So someone have the chance to talk during the slides, and at the end, if you also want to sort of say comments, I've just messaged 1 or 2 of you for that. The other point is you mentioned about PMOs fell within 3 years. So it's actually very opportunistic that Rolf is here with us. He's going to do the keynote. We were actually presenting in London, I think it was in 2017, and it was this known that PMOs fell within 2 or 3 years, and I wanted to research, as Rolf always wants to make sure, as well as I do, that it's based on fact. And what we actually found out that the Gardner Group actually quoted a research paper from Monique Aubrey, Professor Monique Aubrey, back in 2010, and they got it totally wrong. It was actually a paper that said that out of, I think it was 18 PMOs on 15 companies, the research was looking at success or the evolution of the PMOs within Sweden and Canada, that all 15 had actually succeeded and evolved. But what it said in the paper was that after 2 years, there's an organizational change. Well, the Gardner Group, they misquoted and said that 50% of PMOs fell within 2 years. I couldn't find anywhere in there. I spoke to Ralph, we couldn't find it. We spoke to Monique, and she says, yeah, they misunderstood. And in fact, what happened is that they quoted that, and then PMI picked up on it, and everybody believes it. It may be true, but you can't generalize 18 PMOs across 2 countries. You've got to actually look at a much greater sample. So unfortunately, Rana, you're sort of quoting this, that people believe in it. They start off with a negative connotation, and it has a big impact. And that's why AIPMO exists, that we want to make sure the information that we provide to you is reliable and not something that's actually based on fiction. I think Rolf has some comments on that.
Yeah, in fact, the study that Monique did by that time was at a time when PMOs popped up like mushrooms everywhere in organizations. Yeah, and they were en vogue, and every organization said, we must have a PMO. So when she came in and asked, how old is your PMO? The majority was less than 3 years old. It has nothing to do with shutting down PMOs after 3 years. It was just the fact that they were brand new. Yeah, but looking at the entire sample, they could say about 50% is less than 3 years old, and the rest is older, and that was completely misunderstood by organizations like Gardner and others. Yeah, by saying after 3 years they are shut down. Yeah, that's wrong. We did a lot of studies afterwards, which all showed that there's a constant change in the mandate of the PMO, but they are not shut down. That's a misunderstanding that became a meme, and you find it everywhere in the market, but it's not wrong. It's not right. It is in fact a misinterpretation of a study result.
Some clarification for you. In fact, I get every so often people send to me a picture at a conference with that statement, and the average life of a PMO is 2 years, because they know the fact and what it was actually based on. And as Dr. Rolf said, it's actually not true. From that, anyway, at least from that research, we don't actually know how many PMOs do close within 3 years or 2 years. That actually needs to be researched. So moving on now, we'd just like to congratulate the awards for the foundation. So we're going to come first on foundation, then the practitioner and the expert. So Abdelaziz actually's got the highest score in 2013 for the exams. And so congratulations for that. And this is his certificate, certificate of distinction, and he can actually use this graduate badge here in 2023. And you know, we talk about the words are so important. This word graduate, we had a discussion for about 3 days about what is the right term to use. Because you can't say IPMO Foundation of the Year, that makes no sense, and graduate university. So we try to make sure the words we choose is very important. And so if it's okay, I would like to ask Abdelaziz to say a few words. So can you open the discussion, Ritu? Let's see if I can, or you can do that.
Let me check, Robert, if I can promote him to panelist now.
Oh, I can allow him to talk. Here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Abdelaziz, would you like to say something?
Yes, hi, Robert.
Hi there.
Hello, everyone. I actually had the chance to talk about the course I took in 2023. It was a very good course, and I learned a lot more about how to run an effective BMO that impacts the organization, and what the organization has endeavors like programs and projects and portfolio, as well as how to implement the BMO lifecycle framework, and how to adapt it to show the value of the BMO, as well as the BMO service catalog. I actually run this framework in my organization, and we are developing this catalog to support the company and also to support the projects and the programs we have. So it was a very informative course, and very great course as well. And I hope to get more knowledge in this area and the BMO area as well in the future. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you for that. Much appreciated. So let's move on now to the second and the third places jointly. So congratulations, Gerhard. You came second with the top highest score. And then joint third place is Hassan and Teresa. So again, congratulations for you. So what we'll be doing is sending the certificates out after this event here. So now I would like to hand over to Professor Rolf, who's actually going to give the keynote for today's event.
Well, in fact, if you like, Robert, you can keep control over the slides. I only have 4 slides, so I just indicate in my speech when you can forward the slides. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Ralf Müller. I'm a professor of project management at BI Norwegian Business School, and I'm somewhat linked to AIPMO through the advisory board, as you heard. And I'm also a professor at other universities worldwide, specialized in PMO, of course, and leadership and governance. So, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished recipients of the AIPMO Annual Distinction Award for 2023, good afternoon to each of every one of you, and congratulations to the distinctive award winners. We gather today to acknowledge your remarkable achievements, the outstanding performance in the IPMO FP&E courses. Congratulations to real accomplishment. In addition to celebrating your success, I will also reflect on the significance of educational institutions and their selection before we summarize the key aspects of the journey you have undertaken to reach this occasion today. Can you move on to the next slide?
It's moved on, yeah? You can see that,
No,
learning from the best?
No, not yet.
Anybody else? Rana, can you see it?
Yes, it's learning from the best now. So the significance of
go to the next
education.
slide, please.
Next slide, okay.
Next slide.
There we go.
Oops, no, that's too much. Yeah, 1 slide back. Okay. Good. Yeah. So the theme of my keynote, learning from the best, why the choice of the educational institution is important, it resonates quite deeply with the ethos of excellence that defines AIPMO and its commitment to advancing project management standards worldwide. Yeah. As we acknowledge the winners and their accomplishments, it is also essential to recognize the pivotal role that is played by the educational institution and the mentors who have guided and inspired the winners along the way. And for example, in many cultures, the name of the educational institutions, supervisors or masters, hold greater significance than the mere attainment of a title or a degree. Many of my colleagues in academia, for example, frequently mention that they spent time at Harvard, MIT, or other big names, while they do not mention their doctoral or professorial title. Yeah, this reflects a timeless truth. Yeah, that the quality of education transcends the boundaries of formal accreditation. Yeah, it is about mentorship. It is about guidance. It is about wisdom imparted by those who have walked the path before us. Yeah, so your success today is a testament not only to your hard work, but also to the dedication and expertise of your instructors. But why is it so crucial to choose the right educational institution? Well, one of the answers lies in the fundamental difference between institutions that are focused on knowledge creation and transfer, like AIPMO, and those that prioritize profit margins and memberships. Yeah, by selecting an institution committed to the pursuit of excellence, you have positioned yourself for success in a competitive and rapidly evolving landscape. Another criteria in selecting educational institutions is the quality of what we learn and the opportunity to observe role models. For example, I myself had the opportunity to learn from Professor Rodney Turner, who is an iconic authority in academic project management circles. And I learned from Professor Joe Hare, another iconic authority in quantitative methods in research. The learnings from these individuals was so much more insightful and lasting than many others. Yeah, this not only from the learning of what they do and how they do things, but probably more important, how they approach their work, how they approach their tasks, which perspectives they take, which attitudes they have. Yeah, that means how they address the why question. Yeah, on why are things the way they function. Yeah, there are plenty of courses and publications on the what, the how, the when, where, and by whom we should do things. But very few actually tell us why we should do the things. Yeah, so what's the underlying truth below it? Yeah, but learning is only complete when we know the why. Yes, such as a theory is only a theory if it explains the why something happens. Yeah, only then we can transcend the reasoning to other contexts and to real new situations and make use of our knowledge. Yeah. So here closes the circle to individuals and institutions working on the why that make up the phenomena they see, like in doctoral level courses, such as those developed by, I guess you know it, AIPMO. Yeah. So let me go back to professional certification. The credentials offered by AIPMO serve as a badge of honor, yeah, signaling to your peers and employers alike that you have achieved a level of mastery in your field. Yeah. Beyond mere recognition, certification opens doors to new opportunities for professional development and advancement, empowering you to make a tangible impact in your respective roles. Central to our discussion today is the indispensable role played by the professional organizations in shaping the world of project management and projects. Yeah, through our collective efforts, we are not only raising the bar for excellence, but also fostering a community of lifelong learners committed to continuous improvement and innovation. And we will see part of that when we talk about feedback from the winners. Yeah. So at the heart of AIPMO's mission lies a distinctive set of courses designed to elevate the standards of professionalism in project management offices and project delivery. By equipping professionals like yourself with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools needed to navigate complex challenges with confidence and competence, we are laying the foundation for a brighter and more prosperous future. Can you move on to the next slide, Robert?
Yes.
Now let me turn to the winners. We asked them to reflect on their journey with AIPMO, and we asked them 5 questions. So when asked about the key learnings from the certification, the winners reflected on a deep dive into project management principles and practices, and particularly focusing on establishing and managing project management offices and understanding their impact on organizational success. Key takeaways include recognizing the uniqueness of each PMO and tailoring services to meet stakeholders' needs, emphasizing principles over processes for consistent impact, and validating information before application of this information, especially in client interactions and social media. Additionally, insights from AIPMO certification highlight PMO services, maturity levels, and the importance of professionalizing the PMO function. Yeah, the certification provided for the winners, a comprehensive understanding of industry best practices, methodologies, essential project management services, ultimately enhancing skills for effective project leadership and management. Now to the second question. When asked which aspects of the certification they found particularly special or unique, the winners highlight the unique aspects of the PMO setup and emphasize the practical application, interactive learning, and real-world case studies. The emphasis on holistic project governance and portfolio management and AIPMO commitment to research, but also their practical approach to PMO implementation and focus on global standards, which contribute to the effectiveness in professional development. The practical application of the learnings, question 3, was described by the winners as utilizing PMO best practices to improve organizational efficiency and enhance decision-making through project governance frameworks. Moreover, the certification has influenced their approach to advising clients, shaping academic work, and driving improvements with their respective organizations, which ultimately leads to enhanced project delivery efficiency and organizational performance. When asked about their relationship with AIPMO as a source of knowledge and information, question number 4, the winners convey a high level of trust and appreciation for AIPMO as a leading authority in PMO knowledge and certification. The winners express confidence in the institution's curriculum, their instructors, the resources, noting the organization's commitment to staying updated with evolving project management trends. They highlight the rigorous research-based approach, credibility, and the role in providing valuable insights and solutions not typically found in other project management resources. Additionally, they mention how their certifications and knowledge have helped them transition into the PMO domain and enhance their professional profiles. Finally, when asked which other reflections on their experience are worth sharing, the winners express gratitude for recognition within the AIPMO and PMO community and highlight the transformative impact of this certification on professional development. They emphasize the expansion of knowledge and confidence gained through the certification process, as well as the networking opportunities and the ongoing support provided by AIPMO. Recommendations are made for individuals interested in PMOs to enroll in AIPMO courses for a comprehensive learning experience, noting the high level of courses and the potential benefits. There's also anticipation for future certifications and a desire for integrated platforms for self-paced learning to enhance community engagement and knowledge retention. Summing this up, in reflecting on their learning journey, the winners emphasize AIPMO's deep understanding of project management principles, particularly in establishing and managing PMOs tailored to stakeholder needs. They appreciate the practical approach, interactive learning, and focus on holistic project governance, which leads to enhanced project delivery efficiency. They express high trust in AIPMO as a leading authority in PMO knowledge, acknowledging its rigorous research-based approach and transformative impact on professional development, recommending AIPMO courses for comprehensive learning experiences, and anticipating further certifications to enhance skills and knowledge retention. With that, I'm slowly approaching the end of this speech. In closing, let us aim to never forget the invaluable lessons we have learned along this journey. May we continue to seek out the best mentors, choose our educational institutions wisely, and embrace the transformative power of lifelong learning. Congratulations once again to the recipients of the AIPMO Annual Distinctions Award for 2023. Your achievements inspire us all to reach greater heights and leave a lasting legacy of excellence in project management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Roth. Very inspiring for everybody, for the people listening. Thank you. So now moving on. So the practitioner awards. So first prize is Mohammed, who actually was on the course with me in Riyadh. And I have to say that I was very impressed with his thinking, with his questions. I can always tell when a person asks a lot of questions, they really want to learn. So as a hint for everybody, make sure you do that. And Mohammed, you've got that down to a T. So congratulations, and here's your certificate. I would like to see, is Mohammed, can you put your hand up? Let's have a look. I'm not sure if he's actually here today. He was here earlier on. Then I'll just go past, so he'll actually get his award sent to him. A second place and third place is Ahab. Actually, he's got 2 awards, so second highest score. And actually, there wasn't much difference within the scores, just a couple of percentage points or even a percentage point. And then we have Ahmed and also Kuptaran, who then came joint third. So I remember with Don, we call him Don, we were actually looking at ABB and then actually looking at the designs. And I remember the actual group was very intensely working at this. In fact, very clever how they looked at the COE and then looking at the 3 different domains, seeing different insights, and likewise for Ahmed as well. So thank you both for working really hard to actually get these awards. Let's move on. So now this is my slide. So why is AIPMO certification unique? So there's really a lot of points that I won't actually go through these. So when we designed the frameworks first of all. We actually wanted to design it for the most complex situation. So this is actually looking at multiple PMOs working as a team. And so how do we go and do that? In fact, the first version of the framework was created as in December 2015 we started. The first course was in Riyadh in June 2016, so 6 months to write it. And then it was really like a basic version. Since then, we have now 10 integrated frameworks for it. They now support us to actually look at creating a target operating model for multiple PMOs. And this is actually pretty complex. So this is what top consulting companies go and do. We've managed to actually document it because I'm not sure if it is documented. It's actually written into the standard and how to go and do it. In fact, there was a bit of a dilemma is that when you write a standard, do you write it for sort of simple, you know, for the junior people, do you write it for the complex, but you risk actually being too complicated for the juniors. In fact, what we've done is sort of structure it in such a way that people that want to go further go into the second part of it. So it's actually described actually in there. And in the expert certification, we're now actually increasing the amount of case study from actually sort of 3 into 4 days, so that all the content you need to learn really in the P course and the preparation for the expert, and then we do organizational design. So it's a very intensive 5-day course. And in fact, another person from PwC on the December course said that what we do on the course in 5 days is what consulting companies do in 1 month. And the reason we do it in this way is that we can do so much because we've actually refined the approach and created this thing and then actually facilitate it. And it's like anything, if you've got expertise, you can do it much faster than when you do it for the first time. So we look at multiple PMOs. We actually have this metaphor of a production line of PMOs. In fact, we're trying to change the whole image of where the project's the most important thing, say before Henry Ford invented the production line, to the project is just on the production line, and the most important thing is the production line. And that's actually the team of PMOs. And this is exactly what we actually look at for the expert course, how they actually designed, how they actually placed in the organization, which services are actually created in which PMOs and when used in other PMOs. We talk about the PMO topology, the PMO service topology. This is all described actually within the expert course. The other thing we've done is that when we're looking at maturity assessments, you'll hear more about this on March the 6th, when we do the formal launch. We did a webinar just last week, is that we've actually designed the case studies where you do the first part of the maturity assessment, which makes it much easier for you to go and do it. So we've been testing that for the last 2 years for that. So this is the prerequisite for this. It's a real world application. So we actually solve real problems just like we do in the practitioner course. It uses a lot of management consulting techniques. So this course is not just for one PMO. This is for multiple PMOs. So really, if you're just doing one PMO, you don't really want to go on this course because it's not relevant for you unless you're going to go into a PMO director position. And that's why a lot of consulting companies come on our courses. So we teach pretty much all of the top 6 of the tier 1 consulting companies. PwC, for example, we have EIPMO present. I can't go into the details of all the contracts, but we have a number of contracts where we actually teach all the consultants, starting at the foundation, going up to the expert level. So this is what's special about it. It is a difficult course to teach. It's very challenging. It takes time, but you get such a head start. And I don't believe that anywhere else in the world teaches at this level with the other organizations. And that's why when you look at our certifications, you have 5 days, 5 days, 5 days, 15 days, plus the extra time as well. You can't expect to have a certification that's just a 1-day certification to do the same as 15 days plus all the other things that we have. And that's why the keynote is really looking at making sure you choose the organization that allows you to grow. And that's very important. So this is what we try to achieve for this. So enough said. Let me now go on to the Expert Award. I'd like to congratulate Amir, who's actually got the first prize. He had the top score. Amir is actually doing his doctorate as well. So he's not only doing all the courses, he's done PE, the practitioner, he's done the consulting frameworks course, which actually we use to develop also the frameworks as well. And of course, he's done the expert course. So if Amir is actually present, I would like to allow him to talk. I've got it right. Amir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can indeed, yes. Very nice to talk to you.
Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Robert and AIPMO for this opportunity to present myself to the audience. I'm really honored to receive this global award from AIPMO. Last year was an amazing year for me. As Dr. Robert said, I completed 3 courses with him, the practitioner course, the expert course, and the consulting framework. Then I got myself enrolled in the doctorate program, PMO at Swiss Business School. I remember after the practitioner course, Dr. Robert inspired me to enroll in the doctorate program, and he told me to understand his language, the PMO language, and to understand the full terminology of PMOs. It is really required to enroll and finish the expert and the consulting framework courses as well. So as I said, last year was an amazing journey for me, and this year I'm focusing more on implementing what I learned in these courses in my company. So my initiative this year is to create the PMO topology, PMO service topology, and conduct a joint exercise with AIPMO for the maturity assessment at SETCO Holding Company. So I'm looking forward for our partnership with AIPMO to conduct the maturity assessment. So with that being said, I thank you, Dr. Robert, for your continued support to me and my conversation as well.
Great, thank you. Actually, I have a question for you, Amir. If you
Yes.
didn't attend the P course, the experts, and the consulting frameworks course, would you have found the DBA that you're doing now much harder to do?
Yes, correct. I agree with you. It will be very hard for me to complete my DBA. As you know, as you said before, to complete my DBA, it is really important to make or create a framework. And that's what you did together with my colleague Wesley in the consulting framework course.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Actually, as we move down, so I'll just put you back on mute again. So congratulations for Wesley, who came second. In fact, actually, he's moved from the Caribbean up to Alberta in Canada. I think he's probably got his jacket on because every time I see him there. Wesley, I'm actually going to see if you would like, here we go. Would you like to sort of say something, Wesley?
Sure, most definitely. Thanks, Robert, Dr. Robert, for inviting me for the award as well. Congratulations to all the winners, including my colleague Amir. Thanks for the inspiring words and insights from Professor Muller as well. Really enjoyed all of the courses that I've done with AIPMO. It has set me on a trajectory beyond, I would say, superficiality, or from being superficial, just scratching the surface. It takes you to another level, I would humbly say that, of greater insights, insights that, aligns you with some of the top research that is being done. I saw that evident in the presentation with the case study earlier, winners there, where they reference certain materials. But yes, the course, very helpful. I mean, if I have to talk about it, it might take hours. But thanks again. And I congratulate everyone on the award and all those who are listening in. It's time to cash in on this. It's very profitable towards your knowledge and your career. Thank you.
Thank you, Wesley. And then for the joint third places is Renata and also Ahmed as well. I don't know if one or the other would like to say something. If you do, just put your hand up, or just leave it towards the end. So congratulations, everybody, for the expert course. This is the toughest one we do. There is maybe on the consulting frameworks. This is a course that we developed about 6 years ago. I actually developed it because they don't exist. It was the first one, I believe, that exists. I taught it at Aarhus University for MSc students, and Aarhus is one of the top 50 in the world. So very smart students. And we had people traveling from China from Australia, America, that sort of came on this course. And it helped me to actually develop and evolve it. And then all the concepts and the ideas behind it will probably go into a book. But also I used it as well to refine my knowledge of building frameworks. So the AIPMO frameworks are like a building, a complex building, how we put it together. Without it, if there's no structure, I think McKinsey says that, there's no structure, then you've got no basis of argument. It really helps actually put things together, especially as something like a standard. So moving on, this now comes to the very last part, sort of questions and then the close. So first of all, for the people that didn't actually present anything, Would you like to say something on the awards? If you'd like, put your hand up. And if there's questions from people, then please also put your hand up. So first of all, we have Lokesh. He won an award on the practitioner. Lokesh, hello. Calling from Canada, I think, as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Am I audible, Robert?
Yes, you are. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for selecting our case study to be one of the distinguished one. Yeah, in Canada, it's too early, and I just joined with a huge excitement after a long, since our session was done with the renewal course. So I would just like to share the feedback over the course because the curriculum which I can see as I compare it from the like before, it was like 4 years before, and now there is a huge transformation. And as you said very wisely, like we are now doing the research work, we are doing the real life case studies. And let me tell you, because I recently joined here in Canada as an instructor of project management, so getting the course done just before that helped me a lot, because many concepts and things were revised in my brain, and it helped me during the delivery of the lectures in the classes to the postgraduate students. Especially, I would like to mention some of the areas where our course of AIPMO is excellent, like some procedure-based approach, as well as if you see certain topics which are not properly covered in PMI that is being duly addressed, like governance, strategy, their project selection criteria, success criteria, that helped me a lot while my deliveries. And you'll not believe that while I deliver the sessions to the students, I always talk about AIPMO also, because the course previously, it was corely designed over the PMI principles, but now I'm the one who's introducing the other side of the story also. So just would like to thank you for that. And the case studies, it helped me a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Lokesh is an interesting one because he's actually renewed the certification. And when we sent out a mail to people to say up to 4 years to renew, we had some feedback saying, why do we need to renew? And why don't we just do PDUs from PMI? What I explained is that the what they learned on is very, very different to what we have now. The course actually goes to the latest frameworks, the understanding, we do the real case studies. And I think you're a good reference or to actually sort of see the value of coming back and doing the course again. We only charge 25%, I think it is, for the renewal. Were you on P, going back onto P, or was it expert? I don't remember now.
It depends, because I just started here, and for the first year, I was a trainer earlier, but now it's corely into education.
Yep.
So for 1 year, I would like to give a complete dedication to the studies and like forming the structure, because this course, I'm in Prince Albert in Canada, and this course is started this year itself. So I'm practically the first person to work on this course. It's a PG course on project management. So
you retook the course, didn't you? You did a renewal, I think. Was that right?
Well, I took the renewal. That time it was in talks, and after that it was confirmed that I'll be starting this course here. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a big difference between what we did 5 years ago to now. The next time we do renewals, we probably will actually just do a shorter one, like a 1 or 2 days, because a lot of the understanding has been gained in the last 5 years, and that's important for us to focus you on the key topics on the doctrine, the understanding of how this actually works, rather than you to sort of take some ad hoc lectures that have nothing to do really with actually the evolution of PMOs. So that's an important point. Thank you for that. Is there anybody? I know there's a question, Don, you've got, but before I answer that, anybody else who actually won an award would like to give feedback? So we have a question from Don, and maybe I'll ask Rolf to actually look at this. I think it's a nice one for Rolf. I don't know if you can see the question, but you see the question, Rolf? Are you on mute at the moment?
Yes, I see the question. I got another message here. You cannot move a video while someone has raised their hand, so I guess this has nothing to do with the question. Good. What risks and challenges does AI/LLM pose for research-based organizations like AIPMO and to the ideals and objectives of research? Well, it's a real good and appropriate question. What I see so far is a collective effort by many institutions, research institutions, to use AI for better research. So in other words, what I see at least here and now is that we improve our tools for interpreting data, for analyzing data, also on a big scale in terms of data, so that the research is more credible, that comes with a support from AI, maybe not so credible when it is done solely by AI, but when it comes to with support of AI, I think it has a positive impact. We also have better chances to use pedagogical tools, AI-based tools to convey the learning to the students and the course participants. So from that perspective, I see it quite positive. The risk that I see is not in AI itself, but in the blind application of AI. Yeah. For example, I just did a search on a literature search on academic literature on ESG implementations in the energy sector. And ChatGPT and BART and all these gave me a lot of text. And I asked for references. And it boiled down that there should be 4 papers published on exactly the research question that I raised. So when I looked for these papers, it turned out that neither the paper existed nor the journals did exist. Yeah. So some of the things we get through AI is pure nonsense, and it always need to be checked. Yeah. So and as long as we do that, as long as there are some human brains who control it, check it, and make sure that it makes sense what is done there through the machine, I think we have a good new tool at hand, which elevates our own working, our human being level working to another abstract level, which might not be bad. Yeah, which might be a very good thing. Yeah. I remember when I went to school, there was a big discussion whether we could use electronic calculators or not. Yeah, the parents were crazy. Yeah, they said they will never learn how to multiply or divide. Yeah, if they can use these types of tools. Yeah, of course we used it, and we still can multiply and divide in our brain. Right, and the same thing will happen with AI. It is a big wave right now. It will ebb down to a certain level when we know where the limits are and where we can use it and where we cannot use it, and then it becomes a tool like any other in our business life.
Thank you, Rolf. Actually, I remember reading yesterday. There's a little quote saying that AI doesn't risk people's jobs. What risks people's jobs are the people using AI. For the other jobs, the people not using it, which is very true. Don, does it answer your question? If it does, then I'll just type it as marked, if that's okay. Amir, you still got your hand up. Did you have another question? Not okay. We also have, I think, Nancy may be here. She finally managed to come in. Nancy, did you manage to sort out the internet problem that you had?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
So Nancy's been working with us now, I think, for about a couple of months, but I've known Nancy for a few years. And so she was in NEOM with me, not in the same project, but we sort of talked to each other. So it's very nice to have you, Nancy, with us. So I think we sort of conclude the awards. It's 1 hour, 20 minutes. I hope everybody found this useful, insightful, the feedback from the individuals. And thank you, everybody, for contributing. Ahab and Rana for your great case study. Ralph, thank you for all the preparation that you put into this. And also people making time during the daytime. Much appreciated. We will do the same thing next year. It will probably be an extended version in the sense of the awards. And we may even do it actually face-to-face as well as virtual at the same time. You need to sort of watch that space. We have announcements coming out on Friday, and I can give you sort of the insights to that. It's going to be the book club, and also it's going to be the launch of the maturity model that Amir actually mentioned. He's aware, or he's seen it, and others have actually seen this as well. But we'll be formally announcing both of those in the next day or so. There's 2 events. One will be on the 6th of March, and I think the other one's going to be on the 14th of March of next year. So of this year, sorry. So lots of things planned, and if anybody wants to contribute or feel like volunteering for work, either in the book club or, for example, case study reviews or looking at a particular topic, then please write into info@AIPMO. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll send, the certificates out to you, and you should get them by tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
Ralph.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.